Imagine waking up every morning with a crippling fear that's holding you back from living the life you want. It's a feeling that's all too familiar for many of us, a nagging voice in our heads that whispers you're not good enough, you'll never succeed, or you're not worthy of love and happiness. This is the fear within, a natural response that's been programmed into our minds since the beginning of time. But here's the thing, fear is not something to be ashamed of. It's a normal, necessary part of the human experience. In fact, fear has played a crucial role in our survival throughout history. It's what kept our ancestors from walking into the path of a tiger in the forest, or from taking a drink from a contaminated stream. But today, fear can hold us back from achieving our goals, from pursuing our dreams, and from living the life we truly desire. You see, the problem with fear is that it's often irrational. It's not based on reality, but on our perceptions and assumptions. We might fear failure, but what if failure is actually an opportunity for growth and learning? We might fear rejection, but what if rejection is a chance to discover what we really want and need? The key to overcoming fear is to change our mindset, to see the world from a different perspective. But how do we do that? How do we break free from the fear that's holding us back? The answer lies in self-awareness. By understanding our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, we can identify and challenge negative patterns that hold us back. It's like shining a light on a dark room, illuminating the shadows that have been hiding in the corners of our minds. Take, for example, the story of a young artist named Sarah. Sarah had always dreamed of starting her own business, but every time she tried, she'd get caught up in fear. She'd worry that her art wasn't good enough, that she'd fail, or that she'd never make enough money. But one day, Sarah realized that her fear was rooted in her own self-doubt. She was afraid of what others would think of her, afraid of not being perfect. So she took a step back, and she began to examine her thoughts and emotions. Sarah realized that her fear was not only holding her back, but it was also preventing her from living a life that truly reflected her values and passions. She started to question her assumptions, to challenge her negative thoughts, and to reframe her fear as a motivator for growth. And slowly but surely, Sarah began to break free from the fear that had been holding her back. Now, I know what you're thinking. This all sounds great, but how do I start to break free from the fear that's holding me back? Well, the answer is not a magic pill or a quick fix. It's a journey of self-discovery, one that requires patience, curiosity, and a willingness to confront our own fears and doubts. But the good news is that it's worth it. When we overcome our fears, we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities. We become more confident, more creative, and more resilient. We start to see the world in a new light, as a place of wonder, excitement, and adventure. So, how do you start to break free from the fear that's holding you back? It's time to take the first step on this journey of self-discovery. It's time to shine a light on your own fears, to question your assumptions, and to reframe your negative thoughts. And when you do, you'll find that the fear within begins to dissipate, replaced by a sense of courage, determination, and possibility. But before we go any further, let's take a moment to reflect on something. What's one thing that's been holding you back from achieving your goals? What's one fear that's been preventing you from living the life you truly desire? Take a deep breath, and let's explore this together. As she stood in front of the mirror, Emily couldn't shake off the feeling of inadequacy that had been plaguing her for months. It wasn't just a fleeting thought, but a constant companion that whispered you're not good enough every time she dared to dream big. But Emily had had enough. She was tired of letting fear hold her back, and she was determined to take control of her mind. The problem was, our brains are wired to respond to threats, not challenges. It's a primitive response that's hardwired into our DNA, a leftover from a time when survival depended on being able to detect danger at a moment's notice. But what happens when that threat is just a figment of our imagination? When the danger is nothing more than a looming deadline or a tough conversation? Our brains don't differentiate, and we start to experience the same physiological response, the same racing heart, the same sweating palms, the same sense of dread. But here's the thing. Our brains are also incredibly malleable. We have the power to rewire them, to teach them new ways of thinking and responding to challenges. And one of the most powerful tools in our arsenal is visualization. By imagining ourselves succeeding, by picturing ourselves overcoming obstacles and achieving our goals, we can build confidence and resilience. We can teach our brains to respond to challenges with excitement and curiosity, rather than fear and anxiety. Take Rachel, for example. Rachel had always dreamed of starting her own business, but she was held back by a fear of failure. She was convinced that she wasn't good enough, that she didn't have the skills or the experience to succeed. But one day, she decided to take a different approach. She started visualizing herself as a successful entrepreneur, picturing herself pitching to investors and closing deals. She imagined herself overcoming obstacles and learning from her mistakes. And slowly but surely, her mindset began to shift. She started to see herself as capable and confident, rather than inadequate and fearful. But what if you're surrounded by negativity and fear? How can you break free and build a more positive environment? For Emily, it started with small changes. She began to surround herself with people who uplifted and supported her, rather than those who drained her energy and made her feel bad about herself. She started to read books and articles that inspired her, rather than those that made her feel anxious and uncertain. And she began to rewire her brain, using visualization and positive self-talk to build her confidence and resilience. As she looked in the mirror, Emily saw a different person staring back at her. She saw a person who was capable and confident, who was ready to take on the world and make her dreams a reality. And she knew that it was all because she had taken control of her mind, and reprogrammed her brain to respond to challenges with excitement and curiosity, rather than fear and anxiety. Emily's journey to overcome her crippling fear was far from easy. In fact, it was a roller coaster of emotions, with moments of breakthrough and regression. But with every step forward, she grew stronger, more resilient, and more determined to break free from the chains that held her back. As she looked back on her progress, Emily realized that the key to her success lay not in avoiding fear, but in facing it head-on. For Emily, the first step towards freedom was to acknowledge the fear that had been holding her back for so long. It was a daunting task, but one that she knew was necessary if she wanted to move forward. By facing her fears and confronting the negative thoughts that plague her, Emily began to build a stronger mindset, one that was more capable of handling the challenges that lay ahead. But building a stronger mindset is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process that requires consistent effort and practice. For Emily, this meant committing to regular self-reflection and self-care. She started journaling, meditating, and engaging in activities that brought her joy and fulfillment. And as she did, she began to notice a shift in her perspective, a growing sense of confidence and self-worth that she had never experienced before. As Emily continued on her journey, she encountered many setbacks and obstacles. There were times when she felt like giving up, when the fear and doubt seemed overwhelming and insurmountable. But she didn't. Instead, she drew on the strength and determination she had built up over time, and pushed forward, incrementally, one small step at a time. And that's the thing about overcoming fear. It's not about achieving some mythical state of perfection, but about making progress, no matter how small. It's about taking action, even when it's scary, and trusting that the momentum will build, and the confidence will grow. For Emily, the final step towards freedom was not a destination, but a journey, one that she was still on, but with a newfound sense of purpose and direction.